Hello, Capricorn Sun, Moon, and Risings. I hope that you're all well. This is your May 2022 astrological forecast reading. So, I will be covering the major transits for the month ahead using tropical astrology and the whole sign system. I recommend that you watch your ascendant sign first and foremost because, generally speaking, it will be the most accurate for you overall. Having said that, if you are a Capricorn Sun, you will find that this horoscope will pertain to your life goals, your career, and your vocation. If you are a Capricorn Moon person, then this horoscope will tell you more about your family life, your property and living circumstances, and your emotional health and well-being. So the first transit for the month is the new moon eclipse in the sign of Taurus in your 10th house. So this will be occurring at 10 degrees and it will be making a sextile to Mars in Pisces at 11 degrees, and it will also be sextiling Neptune, Venus, which is the ruler of the eclipse, and Jupiter, which will be in an almost exact conjunction with Venus. So new moon eclipse are basically like new moons but on steroids. What I mean by that is that they bring in a powerful new beginning into our lives. Now, because this eclipse is making so many positive aspects, I see this as being quite a fortunate new beginning or a lucky new beginning, which is starting in your life. Having said that, this eclipse will be conjunct Uranus, so there will be something quite unexpected or shocking or unusual about this new chapter that is starting. So, in terms of eclipse energy, we're already in eclipse season now because we're less than 2 weeks out from this eclipse. So, you may find that you are feeling quite uh, off emotionally speaking, or your emotions could just be running high at this time. You may be feeling a little bit fatigued or drained, and your sleeping patterns may be a little bit disturbed. So just remember that eclipses happen 4 times a year, so it's nothing to be afraid of. And in terms of when this new beginning will take place in your life, the catalyst or the first glimpse of it will occur around the 1st of May, plus or minus a couple of weeks, but then it may take a few months to settle in. So this is happening in your 5th house, which is extremely exciting because the 5th house is connected to romance, creativity, our passions, our hobbies, and it is also considered to be quite a lucky house in astrology. So, given that this is occurring in your 5th house, some of you may be discovering a new talent or gift, or even like a hobby or a passion of yours. And this could be something new entirely, or this could be building upon like a new dimension to an already existing hobby or passion of yours. So you could be experimenting, you could be trying a new sport, you could be trying a new form of artistic expression. For those of you who own your own business, this indicates a new chapter that's starting there. So maybe there's going to be new services that you offer or some new products that you are selling. And because all of these planets in Pisces in your 3rd house are being sextiled, this indicates that a collaboration could be taking place. So if you already own your own business, maybe you'll be collaborating with other people or starting a new project with a group or a team. Some of you could be starting your own business for the first time, and this could be connected to actually, I'm not even going to go into that because so many planets are involved in this eclipse. Let me just say that some of you may be starting your own business, and some of you may actually be opening or starting a new business with a friend or even with a relative of yours or a sibling. Now, this could see there being a sudden rise in your professional status or in your reputation as a result of what comes through with this eclipse, whether that is starting your own business, whether this is expanding your own business. And I'm saying this because Venus is the ruler of the eclipse, and Venus is the lesser or smaller benefic planet, but it is conjunct Jupiter, which is the greater benefic, which brings blessings and abundance. So with the Venus ruling over your 10th house, which represents, which is Libra, I mean to say, this can indicate your reputation really taking off, essentially. So maybe you are now known as the go-to person in your industry or in your field. Maybe you are landing an acting role. Let me know if you guys can hear my heater. It just started making a lot of noise. If you can hear it, I'm going to turn it off. Anyway, so with Venus ruling over your 10th house, this can see you landing an important acting role, or maybe even a position in a sporting team. Maybe you are giving a sporting performance or receiving some sort of position of leadership within the acting industry or the sporting industry. And for some of you, you may actually be looking at basically changing up your style and how you express yourself in terms of your fashion sense. And I'm saying this because Venus rules over your 10th house, which represents your reputation. And this eclipse will be conjunct Uranus, which rules over your 2nd house, which represents your wardrobe. And the 5th house is connected to fashion as well. So the conjunction to Uranus indicates that there could be a new eccentric or eclectic way of you expressing yourself, or even just with your actual tastes changing. So Uranus rules over your 2nd house, which is connected to the 5 senses and your taste. So this could be taste in fashion, dress sense. Like I said, we could be looking at some big changes with regard to branding, maybe changing the name of your own business if you own your own business. And for some of you, this can indicate a new chapter commencing with regard to actually having fun, partying, doing things for the sake of your own joy and happiness. Putting your happiness first would be another very powerful change that could be coming through with this eclipse. The 5th house is connected to romance. So this could see you attracting romantic partners more easily. You could be engaging in more adventurous types of sex, or something which is quite unusual for you. So just going back to Uranus ruling over your 2nd house, which represents your taste and your appetite, your sexual appetite could be changing, or your taste in romantic partners could be changing. This can absolutely represent spicing things up in your romantic life. And, just on the whole, this could bring in a new relationship. So a new partner, or certainly a new chapter when it comes to dating. Maybe you're going to try online dating, or a new style of dating, like speed dating, I guess is something that which pops into mind. Lastly, with this eclipse, the 5th house represents children. So this could see you expanding your family, bringing more children into your life, whether you are falling pregnant, that could happen. Maybe your partner's having a child, maybe you're adopting, maybe you're fostering, or there could be just more children entering your life in the way of nieces and nephews. And for those of you who already have children, this could see your child coming out of their shell more, maybe becoming more ambitious, maybe displaying new gifts and talents. And there could be something shocking about a decision that they are making. Now, on the 10th of May, you know what? I'm going to turn off my heater. I'll be right back, guys. Just bear with me. Okay. Now, on the 10th of May, Mercury will retrograde back into the sign of Gemini. Will be retrograde in Gemini. Then on the 22nd or 23rd of May, it will retrograde back into the sign of Taurus, and it will station direct on the 3rd or the 4th of June. So with Mercury being retrograde in your 6th house, this is highlighting the following areas of your life: work, health, your daily habits and routines, pets, and also legal proceedings. Now, Mercury retrograde periods are about revisiting things, exploring topics that were discussed before, or going back to make changes to existing things in our life. So with this being in your sixth house of work, first and foremost, this can see you re-entering the workforce if you have been unemployed. Even if you had retired, you could actually come out of retirement. For some of you, you may have applied for a position at work or for a transfer to a different department, and you could be successful this second time around. And it doesn't just have to be a second time. This is more like something that you've attempted before, and now you can actually be successful with that. You may have to redo projects. There may be delays to meetings, projects, the deadlines for work can change. An old work opportunity can appear. So maybe you are being contacted by a former employer or someone who used to work for you could actually come back on board. If you had a former boss or a superior who left, they could be coming back to work. So this could be for a number of different reasons. Maybe they were unwell, maybe they were working in a different department, maybe they were on parental leave. On a different level though, for those of you who are currently involved in court cases, and I want to stress that this would be something that you are already aware of or that you have already tried to initiate before. So for those of you who are, currently involved in a court case, the court case could be adjourned, postponed, cancelled. There could be changes to the date. Paperwork or documents could go missing, or important documents that you're waiting to receive could be delayed. And you could be appealing a court case, or an appeal could be brought against you. And I'm saying this because the sixth house is connected to legal proceedings, and Mercury rules over the sixth house as well as the ninth house. And the ninth house is also connected to law. So for some of you, you could be returning to see a solicitor or an attorney, so someone that you have received legal advice from before. Now, on a different note, actually, this is the same note, but a court decision could be turned over, or overturned, I should say, or appealed, like I mentioned before. So if you do have a court case, or if you're going to some sort of tribunal for, well, anyway, I'll just leave it at that. If you have a court case date of some nature, you'll just want to make sure that you arrive early, that you're leaving more than the usual buffer period. So if you normally would arrive an hour earlier, I would be arriving 2 or 3 hours earlier. I would be calling your taxi or your Uber much earlier than normal. And certainly for taking public transport, I would just leave a really, really big gap or buffer period. And also please double check all court case dates and locations, and maybe even just double or triple check the existing location, because it might have been changed and maybe you were not notified. Just remember that Mercury retrograde periods happen 3 times a year, sometimes 4. So it doesn't need to be a big deal. I just wanted to mention it to you guys just in case. Now, the sixth house is also connected to health. So a pre-existing issue may flare up around this time. Again, I don't want you guys to freak out. Mercury retrograde periods actually present an amazing opportunity for you to heal something once and for all by discovering the root cause, or by trying a different approach that you have never tried before. And for some of you, results from doctor's appointments or any kind of health result that you are awaiting may be delayed. So you'll just want to double check that, and also double check appointment times, because they may be cancelled or postponed. And please also double check prescriptions and referrals, and that your specialists have received these referrals. Now, with the sixth house being connected to habits and daily routines. This is a great time for you to break old habits that you have been trying to eradicate for quite some time. I would warn against reintroducing old habits that you have already broken. The sixth house is connected to pets. So, um, in terms of like an astrological remedy, right, what I would do is schedule a vet appointment or checkup with a vet that you have seen before. So, this is actually playing with that um, astrological energy. It's kind of like acting on the transit. So even if there's, nothing wrong with your pet, this is a really good time for a follow-up or checkup appointment. Worst case scenario is that a pre-existing issue with your pet may flare up. But for those of you who have pets who have some sort of ongoing issue, this can see you actually resolving that. Now, lastly, with Mercury retrograde in your sixth house in Gemini, because Mercury rules over your ninth house, which is connected to travel and education, this can see you maybe re-enrolling in an education course or for a college or university. You could be changing courses or classes. An old teacher or professor may come back. And for some of you, you may be actually forming a complaint, like another complaint, I should say, against your college or university or against a teacher or maybe even an airline. So you may be following something up, and there may just be some administrative hoops for you to jump through, especially if you are traveling I was going to say internationally or even just air travel in general. There may be some issues with your paperwork, visas, also passports as well. What I would say here is that if you do have a trip coming up, I would, and you are applying to get a new passport or to get your passport renewed, I would be purchasing getting it expedited, so spending money to get it quicker than normal. So that goes for visas and passports, anything to do with travel or education. If there is a deadline that you need to meet and there is an option for you to pay more to get this expedited, then I would be taking that action. And just on the travel front, flights and accommodation are subject to be grounded, changed. There can be some mishaps there. So I've done this so many times where I've been traveling and I've booked my accommodation for the wrong date, and it will be like a month before or a month after, or when I've booked like multiple Airbnbs and I'm like wanting to decide which one to go with. There's been times when I've just like completely forgotten to cancel the other one. I have Saturn square Mercury in my chart, so I'm not a clumsy or reckless person, but this stuff just happens to me. Now, on the 22nd or the 23rd of May, depending where you live in the world, Mercury is going to retrograde back into the sign of Taurus. So this will be in your fifth house. So this can see you picking old hobbies and passions back up. You can be feeling quite creatively inspired if you've gone through a period of feeling blocked on a creative level. If you were writing some kind of novel, you may actually start writing this again. Certainly you can feel more creatively inspired with with work, just generally speaking. And because Mercury rules over the tourism industry and travel, this can see you going on a vacation or trip that was delayed because the fifth house is connected to vacations. And some of you may decide that you want to try your hand at working in the tourism industry again or in the travel industry again. And because Mercury rules over the ninth house, which is connected to publications, and Mercury itself represents writing and communications, there may be a second chance for you to get some of your creative work published, whether this is a novel or a series of short stories or even artworks. Anything creative is indicated by the fifth house. And some of you may decide that you want to go back to learning a language again, or maybe you're just returning to study, but for fun. Now, the fifth house is, of course, connected to owning your own business. So this can see you changing the structure of your company, your systems, your work processes. You may be returning back to owning your own business. So maybe you close your business down temporarily, or maybe you're just, reigniting it altogether, or restarting it, I should say. You may be educating yourself, so going back to study with something to do with starting your own business, and an international travel opportunity may reappear. So maybe this was a work trip which was postponed or delayed or just outright cancelled, and now you're revisiting this. The fifth house is connected to love and romance, so an old flame can reappear. You may be giving a relationship a second chance, and also you may be hearing back from someone that you used to date. Now, if that is the case, there are conditions that I would put on this. So this would be someone who you used to work with, that you used to date, someone that you used to study with, or someone who is of a different cultural background to you, or their status could just be wildly different. So just to give you the most obvious example of a difference in status, one person could be, a dignitary, or someone who has to operate within a certain set of class systems, such as royals. That's just a random example. So there could just be a really big difference between the way that you even live your life. So the cultural differences there. With your current partner, there could be miscommunications, or you could be resolving an issue once and for all, which has been flaring up throughout your relationship. Or if you have been on and off with this partner, so if you've broken up several times, or if you keep talking about breaking up and you never do it, this can see you actually breaking up with them and then sticking to that decision. Now, lastly, with this transit, the fifth house represents children. So for those of you who have children, you may have miscommunications with them. If you are estranged from your child, this can see you actually reconnecting with them and reestablishing that relationship with your child. And lastly, if you have been toying with the idea of whether or not to have a child or more children, whether this is biologically or adopting or fostering children, this can see you choosing this can see you changing your mind. So if you were like, no, we're done having children, maybe you're like, hey, I've changed my mind on this. Let's go for it. Now, also on the 10th of May, Jupiter is going to enter the sign of Aries. So this will occur on the same day as Mercury stationing retrograde in Gemini, and Jupiter will be in Aries in your fourth house from the 10th or 11th of May, depending where you live in the world, until the end of October, at which point it will retrograde back into Pisces for a little bit. Then on the 20th of December, Jupiter will re-enter Aries in your fourth house, and it will be there until May in 2023. So Jupiter is the greater benefic in astrology. It brings blessings and abundance and prosperity. So with Jupiter entering your fourth house, this can impact you with regard to your property. So you could be expanding your portfolio, you could be buying more property. This could see you actually purchasing more vehicles as well. So vehicles are seen in the third and the fourth house in astrology, and because Jupiter rules over your third house, this can see you, buying more. And for some of you, this could be a change of location where you are moving abroad, because Jupiter is a planet of travel, and furthermore, Jupiter rules over your 12th house, which represents far away foreign countries and lands. So Jupiter in the fourth house can see us living abroad, and especially if this makes certain aspects to your own personal chart, so you'll want to check that. Nonetheless, in terms of the time frame, it's not like, okay, the 10th of May hits and now, I've bought a house overseas. It could happen throughout the course of these two sort of 5-month periods. So May to October 2022, and then, late December till May 2023. On a different level, Jupiter represents expansion and it rules over your third house. So this can see you living with a lot of relatives or a lot of friends, whether you're moving in with them or whether they are moving in with you. On a different note, Jupiter represents generosity. So you may actually be receiving some sort of financial assistance or generosity from your relatives, whether they are helping you out financially with property matters, or maybe they are allowing you to live with them. Maybe this is rent free. Maybe you're living in one of their properties for free or at a heavily discounted rate. And just moving along, this can see your family expanding. So you may be having a child, whether this is for the first time or more children, or maybe someone in your family is having children, especially because Jupiter rules over your third house, which represents your relatives and siblings. This could actually see you becoming a grandparent because the fourth house represents our lineage and our ancestry. And on the downside, Jupiter can represent things being blown out of proportion and exaggeration and greed as well. So, on the downside, you may witness a family member being quite greedy or quite obnoxious or arrogant. Something to note is that as a Capricorn sun, moon, or ascendant, Jupiter is squaring you. Okay, it's squaring your Capricorn placement. So squares can represent expansion at a dizzying speed, or it can represent what I would like to call growing pains. So something happening which is for your benefit, whether this is spiritual benefit or just generally speaking, it's going to help you, but at the time it can feel quite overwhelming and like something that you don't feel that you're ready for. But I would see this as a stretch goal. I personally have had Jupiter squaring my ascendant because I'm a Gemini ascendant and Jupiter's been in Pisces. And even though it's brought me so many blessings, it has certainly been like a lot of pressure on me in terms of my workload. But it's a different story because Jupiter was squaring me from the 10th house. Nonetheless, for you guys, this just could be, pressure from your family or from your property and living circumstances. Now, on a different note, this can see you learning more about your ancestry and your lineage, especially because Jupiter rules over your 12th house. So this can just excuse me, guys. This is the problem with lives. So with Jupiter ruling over your 12th house, this can represent lost information or hidden information becoming available to you. So maybe you are finding things out about your family. Maybe you are uncovering certain things which have been eluding you or your family for quite some time. Now, with Jupiter in your fourth house and the fourth house being connected to your childhood and your emotional health and well-being, this can bring you blessings here. So maybe there's going to be a big focus on your emotional happiness and putting yourself first, even if this is something which is difficult for you to do. Essentially, Jupiter is still going to bring blessings to you. It doesn't matter if it's a trine or a square. This can just represent the way in which they come about. So I would say that by the end of May in 2023, if you kind of like mark that one down in your journal or in your diary, you will realize that your emotional state and how you deal with family issues and your current living circumstances will be wildly different, and there will be such an improvement that you notice on a personal level there. And I just want to say that, this can certainly bring children into your own personal life. So you could be having children, or your partner may be falling pregnant. Again, it doesn't need to be through the biological way. This could be adoption or fostering. Now, on the 16th of May, Oh my gosh, we've already been going for half an hour. So there's 2 more transits left, the total lunar eclipse in Scorpio and then Mars in Aries. So on the 16th of May, there will be a total lunar eclipse in the sign of Scorpio at 25 degrees in your 11th house. So this total lunar eclipse will be making a square to Saturn in Aquarius in your second house, and Saturn is your ruling planet, so you will be feeling this one for sure. But having said that, this total lunar eclipse will be making a trine to Mars and Neptune in Pisces in your third house. And Mars rules over Scorpio, so this is the eclipse ruler. Essentially, this eclipse is bringing a powerful end to a chapter in your life. So, for some of you, this could be the end of a friendship or a business connection or even a collaboration. This could see you walking away from a certain group or a community, whether this is for social reasons or for different reasons. It doesn't have to just be your friendship group. It can be any kind of community that you are a part of. You may be achieving a long-term goal or dream, and this could be connected to your career or your legacy somehow. And I'm saying this because this eclipse is making a square to Saturn, which is your ruling planet, and Saturn represents career. Now, for some of you, you could be walking away from a financial goal that you have had for a long time, or this could be a long-term goal of yours. So if we're balancing the hard aspect, which is the square to Saturn, and then the positive aspect or the harmonious aspect, which is the trine to Mars and Neptune, whatever end of a chapter is taking place in your life, this will benefit you in the long run. And this is about letting go of something in your life. So Neptune represents sacrificing something or something dissolving. And with this being in your third house, I do think that this would be connected to friendships somehow, or obligations to clients or co-workers, or business collaborations. Some of you may be closing down your social media account, or you could be basically just trimming some of your social media online I was going to say persona, but let's just say you're on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook, and YouTube. Maybe you're getting rid of Twitter, just as an example. And with the square to Saturn in Aquarius in your second house, it kind of looks like if a relationship is ending, so let's say a friendship, or you're walking away from a community or a group, that this would be rooted in irreconcilable differences when it comes to your values or your attitudes or approach to finances. Now, with respect to a long-term goal, whether you're achieving this or whether you are, walking away from this, it could just be that it was taking a lot of your time and attention, or that this was, draining your resources and finances. So maybe you don't really want to walk away from this goal or this dream, but you have to due to financial reasons, or, having a lack of resources. And lastly, the 11th house and the second house, which are both indicated here, are money houses. So this can look like restricting your spendings, as shown by the square to Saturn in your second house. So this could be not spending as much money on luxuries or food, or this could see you, maybe taking a haircut on your pay, but this could be for long-term gains or a long-term goal of yours. So I would say that the energy here is a little bit bittersweet, but just know that the positive aspects that are made in this eclipse overwhelm what I would say, what I would call the negative aspects. So it does look like something is coming to an end in your life, which is for the greater good. Lastly, and I'm going to race through this, on the 24th/25th of May, Mars will enter the sign of Aries, which means it will be in your fourth house. Now, Mars will be there for 7 or 8 weeks. And from about the 24th till the 28th of May, it will be there with the Moon, Jupiter, Venus, and Chiron. So This represents that during that period of time, tensions can be running really high in the home. And just with Mars in your fourth house in general, I would warn against accidents in the home, particularly with sharp objects and tools and instruments and, worst case, weapons. And also just be mindful of, adding an extra layer of security and making sure that you have locked up your house. You may want to renovate the house. There could be things breaking down around the home which require you to fix them or get repair people in. On a different note, this can see you starting to work on a long-term goal or dream when it comes to either starting a family or something to do with your dream home or living in some sort of ideal location. And, you'll just want to be careful not to cause arguments with family members or be dragged into arguments with family members, especially from, the 25th to the 28th of May, because tensions will be running high, like I mentioned. And so, Capricorn, that's all I have for you for May 2022. If you enjoyed this horoscope, please give it a thumbs up. If you'd like to see more content on this channel, please hit the subscribe button. And if you'd like to book a personal one-on-one reading with me, you can do so via the link in the description box below. Enjoy May, and I will see you guys next time.